Well, hello there, beautiful teachers, and welcome to another teaching chat. My name is Nicola Canton. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the blogger behind Colourful Keys, and I created the vibrantmusicteaching.com games website, which is a library of games and fun activities and all that sort of stuff. On the blog on Sunday, just gone, I shared these really fun cards, and I want to show you some things you can do with them today. So this is what they look like. They're called creative candies, so they have a little bit of a Valentine's theme, but you could get away with them any time of year. And on each one, you won't see because you can't see that. Okay, there's a little love heart anyway. You're not going to be able to see that because of the light, but each one is a Italian music term, so it could be pianissimo or alla marcia or anything. It could be about expression or dynamics or tempo or anything else. And I'm using these in a few different ways in my lesson this week, and I hope that you'll grab them too because they're so much fun. So I'm going to give you some examples of how to use them. You can jump on over to colourfulkeys.ie/Valentine to grab them right now. So the first way I'm using them, and I think this is my favorite, is with improvisation a la circle of fifths with the creative candies. So what I get my students to do is to pick out one of the creative candy cards which has a term on it. It could be anything. And if I have more than one student there, I'll get each of them to pick one because we can put a bunch of them together, right? And if it's just me and a student, I'll pick one, they'll pick one. Okay? And we put those on the music stand. So, for example, I just had a lesson there where we got alla marcia and subito forte, okay? So those were our two things to work with. And we're then going to improvise with those. The way I've been doing improvising this week, which has been a lot of fun, is by cycling through some of the keys. So I start at C major, and depending on student level, I'll explain or not explain or go into depth on various parts of this. But we start at C major, meaning if it's a beginner, you just tell them play all the white keys. And then we go around the circle of fifths. And I have a circle of fifths graphic in my studio. So of course I'll say, and which do you think the next one is? And where do you think we're going next? And then we add in the sharps. I think the furthest I've got so far is E major, but it's been a lot of fun before we run out of time. But it's been a lot of fun. And each one, we're picking new creative candies to use with that. So that's one fantastic way. It's been so good. It draws their attention to the circle of fifths, which is awesome. And of course, I love it. Brings some context to why we use that circle as well, which I always like to do whenever I can. Building up on the sharps and building in the idea that the F sharp carries through and then the C sharp carries through. So they're building, they're not random, which some students could be tempted to see them as, that they're remembering them for each scale. It's like, no, you just have to remember the last one. Just add up one more. So anyway, those are some of the reasons why I love it, but mostly it's because it's really fun and they're diving into some of those Italian terms without having to remember them. I'm going to explain them to them. I'm not expecting them to know all these terms, but it does allow them to explore and also to get really creative with the whole piano. So that's way number one that I'm using these cards. Number two is that we're using them to dress up old favorites. So this is a great activity to do if you can go back to the start of your student's book or a previous book or whatever. If you have, I put little green tabs on ones that are favorites as we go. So we'll go back to those every so often. And this is a great activity to do with those because they're pieces that they know and love and want to play more often. They want to play them all the time. But this gives them a new lease of life because say you draw fortissimo, it's going to sound completely different if the piece was already, pianoed throughout, or vice versa, or maybe you draw presto and it's normally largo, you get the idea. So you're messing with what the piece sounds like, and you can discover something really new and interesting. At the very least, they get to explore Italian terms as well as go back over an old favorite piece and enjoy it again and relive it. So that's way number two. And then the third way is that we're using it for section practice and repetition. Now, this is going to be a favorite for a lot of you because if you need a student to play a certain section, a lot of times in the lesson to make sure they get it or to make sure it sticks, or maybe because they're not practicing at home and you need to make it easier so that they will practice at home by practicing in the lesson, then this is a great activity to do that with, because it'll be different every time. And not only does this make it more interesting, more likely that they'll want to do it and be enthusiastic about it, but it also means that they'll stay awake more. And if they're more awake, they're going to retain the information better. If they're just sort of cycling through these repetitions and half asleep, that's not achieving very much. It's not actually going into their head as much as if they're staying awake and exploring sounds and thinking about other stuff and rejigging things as they go. So these cards are going to be fantastic for that too. Make sure you jump on over to the blog to grab them. Like I say, even if you watch this past Valentine's Day, I still think you could get away with them because they're just candy hearts. I mean, come on. But it's even more fun if it is Valentine's Day. So they're called Creative Candies. You can get them on colourfulkeys.ie/Valentine, singular. And I really hope you enjoyed these tips. Again, they were to improvise using the circle of fifths and the creative candies, to use them to dress up old favorites and go back and revisit old pieces, and to use them to make section practice more exciting and repetitions of pieces more exciting as well. So there's loads more fun ways you can think of to use them with. I hope that you'll get in touch with me if you think of one that is really awesome, or you try something out and you just love using them that way. I'd love to hear what you're doing with the cards, and you can grab them at colourfulkeys.ie/Valentine if you don't already have them. Make sure while you're here that you subscribe, and that you subscribe to the blog as well while you're over there, so that you get all these latest freebies and goodies and articles as soon as they are out. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye for now.